knees. Pardon? You will go down hard.
I've contacted one of their officers specially trained in dealing with sexual assault.
Oh, yeah, what's his name?
It's a her.
Well, this is going to be painful.
Who is the man who did this to you?
So this is some kind of halfway recovery camp, is that right?
There are a lot of women here in a lot of pain.
Pain.
You really want to shoot someone? Point right here.
How long has she been missing for?
More than likely, she's already dead. Queenstown is a millionaire's playground. What they want, they get.
You're a long way from any help.
I am the help.
Al, I'm sorry I messed up.
So, if there's anyone here who wants to come forward, not tomorrow, not next week, this is your last chance.
So you're on your knees? Good. Now die to yourself.
What I want to know is when you get to the edge of the universe, what's there?
Don't know. Not going there anytime soon.
Put your hands behind your head. Do it now!
I'm no ordinary girl.
All her own work.
I had no collaborators, okay?
But just before we start this final session of the Big Screen Symposium, and this is big screen, even though it's television, I would like to acknowledge Images and Sound for supporting this session and Jane's presence here today. So thank you very much, Images and Sound. So we're not going to, or at least I am not going to, fill you in on Jane's biography, and if she wants to do that during the afternoon, she can, and you can research her yourselves. There's a lot to research. We said to each other confidently yesterday we were going to do a case study. I'm not quite sure what a case study is, but anyway, that's what we're going to try and do. So,
Yeah.
where to start?
Well, I should also introduce you, Philippa. I met Philippa quite a few years ago when we were on a panel together, a writing panel, and I really liked the way that she spoke about scripts. And when I had to find a producer to work with in New Zealand, Dorothy Sheffman actually reminded me, oh, you know, Philippa. I was like, oh yeah, Philippa. That'd be amazing. And so Philippa and I really didn't know each other. We were really thrown together, which is probably weird for both of us. Yeah, and we got to know each other during the process, you know, of the film. And I think, you know, at the beginning we were a little prickly, and you know, I mean, just trying to work out who each other is and how to you know, do your best work with this person and what to do. But you know, we're doing the next one together, and I think that's a testament to the fact that it was a really rich relationship, and not just based on agreement, sometimes on some real arguments and, you know, respect and decisions that had been made. So I just really want to thank Philippa for being here today and for being the producer, and you know, very much a producer who contributed creatively. And you know, whenever we want to say something sort of intelligent about our series, we'd ask Philippa, what have we made, you know, what have we done here? And we'd look at her notes and I go, oh yeah, I'm going to say that, you know. Because she has a, you know, great way of bringing you know, a sense of depth and wisdom into, you know, her way of looking at material, which I really value. Yeah, so we were thinking, you know, what would be useful to talk about in an hour, really, you know, in a situation like this. And we're hoping that maybe discussing how Top of the Lake came to be, and, you know, I don't know if people here are interested in that process of making a mini-series, which, you know, I think of it as like a novel, really, and I love novels. So, you know, a really exciting length where, you know, it's not exhaustive, but you can really stretch out with the characters and tell stories. And one of the reasons, you know, I really wanted to do this was, I guess, after seeing amazing programs on TV like Deadwood, and even things like The Staircase, And, you know, I just remember seeing it and going like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I cannot believe that they're letting them do this, you know, because in film all the time, there's this obsession of saying, oh, is this character likable? You know, we were discussing that today in the masterclass. Is this woman, you know, going to put them off? Or and somehow in these television series that they're making, HBO, or they've tapped into an audience which is a lot more aggressive and a lot more open and demanding of a different type of exploration. And, you know, I felt that they were an audience I really wanted to talk to and to meet. I felt totally ready to try. And, you know, then there's the sort of what sort of story. I mean, all sorts of stories could do, but I actually do like crime stories. And, you know, one of the really good inspirations for me was the Millennium Trilogy. Has anyone, Stieg Larsson? Has anyone read that? You know, and what I loved about it also was that it's a real feminist piece, where there's some real angry female presence. And, you know, I mean, it's so crazy it has to come from a guy, but it was really embraced by the world, and I think it changed things a little bit. I felt it changed things, so that, you know, you were able to do some pretty aggressive act. I mean, you know, our character could glass somebody. I mean, I'm not saying that's great, but in the context of a sort of crime story, you know, you can recover from that. You can go on. So, yeah, and, you know, importantly, I was in love with that area in the South Island, so landscape always plays a big, you know, part in any of my dreams about doing stuff, or particularly played a big part in this. I've spent about, you know, now about 19 years going there every year, every now and then, you know, for long periods of time, and feeling, you know, a visceral sense of excitement just created by these mountains and this lake. And in this area, there's a place actually called Paradise, which has a, you know, a really difficult history. And I'm really interested in those kinds of ideas as well, you know, like that sort of search for that human, really normal search for happiness in a space, for relief from the pain of, you know, life here in the city, or just that dream of something easier. Of course, it usually is a dream, and it usually delivers quite a punch. You know, Paradise delivers, and has delivered quite a punch to everyone that's ever lived there.
Yeah.
So I'm very, you know, I'm intrigued by those dreams of getting away from it all, because it's, you know, one of my pervasive dreams, you know. And also, the real sneaky, heartfelt motivation in doing this story was the idea of the women's camp, where there'd be mostly post-menopausal women, although a lot of us aren't, in a group together that was sort of injured by life, by their quests for love, like sort of soldiers, you know, returned from war that can't live in normal society. And they would gather together. Well, you know, it sort of was like that. And then I also wanted to pay some homage to a guy who's been extremely important in my life called Yuji Krishnamurti, and he's perhaps the only person I ever met who I think is free. And that made a big impression on me when I met him. You know, I would have been in my 40s, and I spent quite a bit of time with him. I'd call him a friend. And so the character that Holly Hunter plays is the sort of female evocation of my actual, I wouldn't call him a guru because he would hate that, my friend. I wouldn't even call him a teacher, he's just is, you know, and shared what his experience of living differently was. And Jared, my co-writer, relates very much to these ideas. He's been a meditator like for forever. He gets up, goes to bed at 9 p.m. He gets up at 3 a.m. and he meditates for an hour, does this Kundalini stuff, and then he goes back to bed again. I mean, this is like, you know, all through his life. So it's got to have changed him. And I think we're both feeling like, oh God, we're at this age, we're late 50s, early 60s, and if we know anything, we know it now, whatever it is that we've learned. And we sort of thought, let's try and put it in here. Both of us felt like, you always feel like, oh, I don't really know anything. But nevertheless, we're probably only going to know it less as we get older still.
We're going to forget everything.
Yeah, forget everything, which maybe is the whole point.
Maybe.
Forget what you think you know. Yeah, that's kind of beautiful.
At what point did you sort of start sharing these things with Gerard? Because that's kind of interesting to us, how the team built around this vision and these feelings.
Well, I didn't really talk to him about it, and I don't really talk about ideas until I get enough threads coming together to feel like excited. And I always, like trust my body on that, the body instinct. We talked a bit about this today in the masterclass. That, I can feel when I've got enough pieces and we're ready to roll, ready to go. Like, I've been given the gifts, the women's camp, the idea of the detective coming from Australia who originally lived in top of the lake, and the girl walking into the lake, the boy Jamie. There's quite a few pieces there, the containers. And so I didn't want to, this is a big story, and I didn't want to try and do it alone. I wanted to collaborate, and so I reached out to a long-term collaborator who I met at film school, Gerard Lee, who's got to be one of the funniest people on the planet. And, we've always had a really good time working, but I hadn't seen him in a long time, so I really didn't know how it was going to work. And he'd had a lot of bad experiences in the film industry. Mm-hmm. People treating him really badly. He always felt his ideas had been ripped off, and I think he might be paranoid. But that sort of paranoia is really quite common.
He's just very sensitive.
Yeah. So he was in a sort of delicate state. But I really wanted to do it with him, so I was prepared to bend which way to, get his confidence and play. Because, at a certain point in your career, you don't want everything for yourself. You want a great playmate and share the discoveries. Anyway, he did like the ideas, and he had been living on an island off Queensland, spending a lot of time there and come up with some kind of weird characters that really worked with my characters. Like the putty character was one of his creations, a guy that he was, he knew, and we started just sharing stories in a very backgroundy way to build our world, and we'd keep sharing stories, and we'd also share our own problems and dreams and real dreams, nighttime dreams, and worries, anxieties, everything, and all of that would come into it would all be part of what could be in this world, as well as, obviously having to have story and, 6 hours. The process that we followed was to, so we talked very widely for quite a long time until we started to feel like we wanted to get stuff down. And we also improvised a lot with scenes, So
I've experienced
we'd start talking to each other. We'd start talking to each other in character. He was really good with the little girls. And I was a really good, alpha male.
Yeah, Jane, you did.
And there were times when we would find ourselves crawling around on the bed that was in our office. I'm going to get you, It's just too funny, really. And
it's very funny, and kind of the first time I was at a table with you, Jane, and there was the improvisation thing happened in my stomach, sort of, but it's fun, It's a lot of fun.
Generally, the improvisations are hopeless. But then suddenly, after a while, something comes in, you've basically created a platform where creativity can be, trusted and begin, and the bar's very low, so you don't really worry about doing well. And then after you relax a bit, actually some real things pop in and you sort of just writing it down and go, oh, that sounds quite good. The problem is trying to write down as well as act, you know? and if you have someone actually writing it down, that would be really embarrassing. So we try and write it down as well as act. And sometimes we had an intern, Claire, she would sit in a corner and she always thought we were marvellous.
That was helpful, wasn't it?
Jane, Jerry, you're so creative. We go, yeah. And, you know, did you get that? But it was quite helpful. And then you read it back, and as you're doing it, you go, oh, that was quite a good book, wasn't it? Remember that? Okay. And some stuff started happening, so I'd get snatches of scenes. But the highlights would, you know, like we found Matt Mitchum's character and how he might react in a situation with the women, for example. One of who we have here today, Rob and Malcolm. You know, I mean, when I met Rob, and I have to say that was my dream come true, I thought, oh my God, this is just absolutely brilliant. These women are going to be amazing. Not that she herself's like that, but her acting is so grounded and so committed. It's just beautiful. So yeah, we played silly asses for a long time, and that is one of the way we get out of a lot of troubles, you know, like when we get stuck somewhere with scenes, and, you know, we know the scene is dead, not working very well. What we'll do then is go, okay, let's save that one, we'll do an improv on it, you know, because we just can't figure it. And then you start to open it up and breathe some life into it, because if you're as a character trying to do the scene, you start to see what the problems are. Like, oh, this person would never do that. Okay, let's change it, you know? And then I think, you know, like making a really good ground, and we didn't have to do that much research, but we did some police research in Queenstown. We had a detective that we were allowed to talk to, and we were taken on some night drives around, and some, you know, we had some nights at the Queenstown police station until they found out what our story was. And then we were banned.
We're not going to talk about that, though.
I mean, you know, our detectives stayed with us. They were, you know, they just said, oh, sorry, we can't talk to you anymore. But fortunately, our research was, you know, mostly done. And in a way, you don't have to do, I mean, I know, look, it's up to you, but I think real research is like, even a day of it, even a few hours of it is incredibly helpful, you know, rather than just making up shit, you know. Just seeing things that really are happening in the real place is just so incredibly helpful. We learned so much from our very short research sessions, and I think on the other hand, you can do too much, you know, because then, I mean, ours is an imaginative piece, you know, ours is an imaginative story set in the south of New Zealand. It's not real.
And it's not police procedural either.
No.
It's not much procedure for us. No.
No, it's a game. It's a fictional game. You know, it's not The Wire, which I love, which, you know, those guys did extraordinary work, and it's, you know, one of my favourite series, but just different than what we could have delivered. So what we did, and, you know, I think it's really helpful if you can drag people along with you as you go. And I had talked to the head of BBC Two. I mean, I was in a good place to do that, and just said, oh, I really got this idea I want to do. Can you tell me if you'd like it at all? And she said, I think I was in film then because I was doing like Bright Star, and they really enjoyed the film. They were really wanting me to do something more. And I said, I don't want to do a film, I want to do television. And so they put me in charge into a breakfast meeting with Ben Stevenson, who's a sort of this fabulous gay guy who just goes, oh, loving it, you know. Give me more. Oh, I missed my train, stop reading it, you know. And he's one of these rare, totally confident people. If he likes it, he likes it. He doesn't second guess himself 1,000 times and wonder if it's any good or not. He just goes, I'm loving it. And be as bold as you can. Do not hold anything back. You know, the bolder, the more dangerous, the more out there this in this particular framework of the miniseries you can be and what we're doing here, which is sort of like new work, the better for us, which is like such an unusual provocation. So I thought, oh, I'm really in the right place for myself. Yeah. And so he was waiting, you know, to hear something back. So what we heard was that you need to provide a Bible. The Bible is basically a breakdown of your series in episodes. You know, this is going to happen in the first episode. This is the general overall idea. This is how it's going to break down, you know, maybe 4 pages per episode. We presented in a little booklet, and also we presented a visual booklet as well, so that people could understand, you know, what we were, how we were seeing it. And, you know, depending on what your strengths are, you should play into them. You know, like if you think you'd be best to film a little scene or whatever it is that you think you do well, you know, you should do it, because it really does help people's confidence. Now, this is the second one. So this little, you know, I love looking at them too. This is the first guy, and he's got all the writing in it. Stuff written over the top of it.
You're not allowed to read.
Yeah, highly secret. And then this is the visual booklet, which, you know, to be honest, I don't really know how useful these are, but they feel like, I mean, I enjoy doing it, and now they're so common. Everyone talks about them, and I kind of almost...
And they sort of reference it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're, I don't know, I go back to them.
I like to see it for myself, to think, oh yeah, that's what we're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of ocean in it. Yeah, okay. I must remember to write a scene with the ocean in it. Yeah, okay. But, you know, when I hear young females, young filmmakers, you said there's only female filmmakers in my book. When I hear young filmmakers talking about their books, you know, it is almost like a cliche, an assistant can do it for them, you know, like they do with commercials. But if you know, the more personal you can make these things, the better, and the more it will feed you. And the better people will see what you're going to provide. So these are, we do this because we want them to trust us. We don't want to have to go back to them very often, you know. We want to do something so well in the first instance that they think, you know, oh, they know where they're going, let them do it. And it does work. Like, for example, and you know, we probably didn't have to give them the whole breakdown of the story because of having done Top of Lake 1. But because we did this, they funded the whole series on the basis of these booklets. So, like, they allocated the money. And I think if it had been looser and just more like, I want to do it, you know, I don't think we would have got that commitment. So, you know, even still, it's a big process of feedback, and I don't know if I talk about that a little bit. Like, then they fund us to write episode by episode. So we start to write the episodes, and we had a sort of system where we'd write an episode. It would take the two of us about 4 to 5 weeks, which if you put together, that's 10 weeks, including second drafts for an hour, 60-minute hour, which we thought we were really slacking around with, but actually it's quite fast.
It's actually quite fast.
Yeah. We slack around a lot for the first 3 or so weeks, and then we go like, okay, you know, your scene, my scene, your scene, my scene, you know, and kind of put the whip on. And then we get feedback. It very much happened like that in the first series, where we weren't so experienced at doing it. And the feedback was very helpful, and then we'd write the next one, and we'd go back and take the feedback and make the changes to the first one. So we were, you know, it takes a while to sort of take on feedback, I think. One of the best tips I've got about feedback is always get a written down version of it. If someone's verbally giving it to you, don't look at them, because you just want to kill them. You just go, oh, interesting. and write it down, because you won't feel nearly so bad about it later, you know. And they look at you and they think, oh, she's taking it seriously, you know. That's got through, you know. Because what sometimes happens when someone gives you feedback and you're just looking at them, you're not writing it down or doing anything, they just say it again. And then they're still not sure, and so they say it a third time. It's really hard. And, you know, we all know that feedback is so important for improving our work. But what I hear, and I think most of us hear, is you're not good enough, you know. You really, whatever's good about it is like normal. And what you can't do is the last 20%, you know. You are no good. What a shame. And, you know, that can be so distracting, take up a lot of time, right? Oh, I don't think I should be really doing this. You know what made me think I could do it? Yeah, I'm hopeless. But others are hopeless too, yeah. But then there's some really good people. You know, whatever made me think I could be one of them. I mean, it's, you know, it's really hard. And so, however, feedback is so helpful, and, you know, I'm so grateful to the people that, you know, risked me hating them for a while to have me love them in the end, who said nasty things about my scripts, or not even nasty, just like, I don't think it's visceral enough, you know. Visceral? What's that mean? Mine's an elegant art story. And then like, right, you want visceral?
There were a few massacres that got kind of trimmed.
I'm actually thinking of the piano when I remember that, because that was the feedback we got, that, you know, so few people can be bothered delivering any real feedback to you, because it's so difficult getting through our defences. But, you know, it's really true. Like, I so really tell anybody what I think. Because it's just like, you know, I don't know,
it's hard.
Being hated. Yeah. It's like, oh, how committed am I to this person to go through the hate ship? And, you know, I do it with, you know, my interns, and, you know, because they know I love them anyway, and we're all committed to the truth, I guess. You know, that's the big deal. And we just say, look, we're doing it. So as we're doing it, the question of whether I'm good enough is irrelevant, because I'm just going to try and do it, and I'll be stopped in the end, possibly. But, you know, what I would say to everybody is just forget that question about am I good enough. You know, that's for other people to worry about. And that you're doing it. You've somehow got this urge, so you have to respect it. You have to try your best, you know. So therefore, you should try to do something fucking good and be better. I mean, you know, when I started, I made the most terrible films. You know, like unbelievably bad, and thought they were fabulous. I have become better. I have become a better filmmaker than I was when I first started, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to, you know, improve our craft and our way of communicating and telling our stories. And, you know, you do get better if you listen to feedback, and especially just, you know, carefully. So anyway, you've written down what you've got here, and then you can calmly look at what's actually a good idea. And, you know, trying to improve scripts is really difficult. We were talking about that yesterday, and I'm just digressing a little bit here because it's one of my bugbears, is that, you know, the easiest thing to do is write a first draft of a script. Who's done that? What's really hard is to get it to be a piece that you absolutely feel is really strong and really good. In fact, on the road, most people get lost. They no longer can see if their script is any good or not, and it becomes like a loyalty drama. It's completely different to having a good piece of work. We go, I'm loyal to my work. Well, there it is. I don't want to read it again because actually I can't read it. I'm too close to it. And actually, that's why I don't like it when I read it. Or maybe it's no good, but anyway, I'm loyal to it, you know. And it's this loyalty thing gets really confused with, you know, that painful, endless on process of really trying to feel deeply into your work and see where it could be better and where it could be improved. And then not only that, you think, well, I can't think about my script anymore because, here my script. I can't think about my script anymore because I am a bit confused about it. I just can't think about it. I don't know how to, there are problems with it, but I don't think they're that big, and I know I'm going to get it funded. Because the funding process is much clearer. You know how to fight that. Oh, I'm going to fight those guys at the commission are so stupid. I can't believe them. Mine's really creative, and then you sort of get involved with the fight, which is much, I would say, clearer in a way, fighting.
And it's kind of intelligible action in a film.
Yeah, and I'm supporting my friend in the script, which I don't really like much, and I can even better read. So what I'm really trying to say is try not to get yourself, mistakenly into a loyalty drama with your work. Just try and stay out of the loathing and the loving, and just receive it. Really try and be in a space where you can really receive the work, i.e. don't be dramatic either way. And it's quite a skill. I was talking about this morning about how I sort of would think I'd written the most brilliant thing, and then 2 days later it would be vomiting. An absolute drama with nothing to do with the script. A drama of my own self-love, self-loathing, which is, like schizophrenic. So this is where, if you are lucky enough to get good feedback, just trust that when you hear it and you don't know how to do it, that's okay. Because you're going to get lots of feedback where you go, oh, it's easy to say. And just hear it, let it wash through, and this is the wonderful process of your subconscious, which I think will come and save you. But after a while, you may come up with ideas you just couldn't have imagined before that will address these issues. And it does seem impossible to begin with, but almost everything can be improved. Everything that you can bring your focus to, and I'm going like that as in like a wide, loving focus to, and you just sit with it and go, yeah, I think that is a bit daft. And if you can call it what it is, just the more you can, examine a problem and tease it out, the more likelihood you have of your subconscious resolving it or solving it. So, this is what we do with our problems. We go, oh, and because there's two of us, we tend to say, oh, I think this is a real problem, and that is absolute shit. And, and we go, no, I don't think it's shit. It's actually got something going for it. And we might talk like that, and then we're sort of thinking at the same time. I mean, because there's two of us, we keep ourselves buoyed up. And then we start thinking, actually, I think I've got an idea for that. I'm going to do it. Blah, blah, blah. So,
one of the things you said, which I found really helpful.
Yeah, that's good, because I'm quite lost now.
No, that's all right. Was going back over something when you'd reread, where you said, oh, I'm just not interested in that anymore. I'm not so interested in that, and you wanted to make some quite big adjustments and shift a character.
Yeah.
And I found that really, I know I've kept that in my head and taken that to other work, because I just sort of, allowing myself to be interested or not interested was really useful.
Yeah. I think you have to work off your instincts, and particularly off your energy, off how you feel it excites you, and sometimes you also have to make it quite personal. Like, sometimes I think, and this is wrong, okay? I think, that'll impress them, and that desire to impress is, one of the things I work with, or provoke, or whatever it is. But provoke or impress is probably not the best motivation. So it's got to be like, I'd say 1 gauge deeper, that this is, I'm feeling myself interested, like my life is interested in this, because I don't know the answers. And, I am really interested in, like for the second series, we tried to think, well, what do we think about all the time? Okay, we think about our kids, we worry about our kids. We think about death, we think about love, So these are the things that we want to put in our story so that we're interested in it, within the series. And when we started saying that to each other, we got a lot more interested in our work and how it might, keep us occupied.
Can I jump a bit to the production process?
Yeah. We have talked about scripts, maybe enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it is,
it's an abiding mystery.
Exciting, endless adventure. And, just learning to sit in a place which is productive with, improvements is really helpful. End of that.
Because the word collaboration was part of the whole sort of kaupapa of the 2 days, and everybody's been shooting that word around. She's a good girl,
isn't she? Keeping on theme.
And one of the things about the first series of Top of the Lake was that there were, you brought some collaborators with you. You had some actors, your editor, your composer, but your makeup artist. But there were a lot of new people. Yeah. There was a co-director. You'd not worked with Adam Akapour before. You hadn't worked with Emile and Ian, and you hadn't worked with me. Or Fiona. Designer, costume designer. So I remember at the time, I mean, apart from being sort of like, gosh, I really don't want to fuck this up. That was it. Philippa, do not fuck this up was like written above my bed. But it was also extraordinarily exciting. And I remember when I kind of realised that, I just thought, I love the risk of this. I love the adventure that you had provided for us all to go on. And someone said to me earlier today, one of the things that he was interested in was how that all fits with the singularity of vision that we feel very deeply, whether you're inside a story by Jane Campion and Gerard Lee, or whether you're with it as an audience member. So can you just talk a little bit about that, those new people and how that was?
Introducing them into the world.
Yeah.
When people read your scripts, it's really helpful if they get it. I mean, I don't think if they don't get it, it's probably not, they probably don't want to do it anyway, so hopefully that sorts out lots of people. Yeah. But the way we chose, like, our co-director, Garth, was, we saw some stuff with Garth, and he's like an, astonishing commercials director and, like, world-class, and a lot of his feature productions had fallen through, and he'd made some short films, which were pretty good too. Quite risky, and done a little bit of commercial television. But what he did do was he loved the scripts. Yeah. He just said, I'm coming up to see you. I've got to come up. This is just so much my material, I'm just, the women, oh my God, my mum's just like that, She's going to go crazy when she sees it, I can't tell you, And, he came and he just showed us so much love and enthusiasm. And, and like, I said, well, what do you want to do? He says, I'll do what you tell me to do. He wasn't going like, well, I want to choose my favourites, episode, and then I'll only do these bits. He was like, I'll do whatever you want. Whatever parts of it, however you want to do it, I'll do it. And, in the end, we just divided it up mostly, and we shared a few things, and, he was having a baby at the time as well, so sometimes I had to shoot stuff for him. But it was like having a brother, and it was really fun. And, there was only one way for it to work, and that was that he was going to be great. And I was going to trust him, because I didn't have time to, teach him, or, in fact, I learned a lot from him. He was much more used to doing 2-camera coverage than I was, and
stunts.
Yeah, stunts. He was brilliant with all that, and we also held some of the rehearsals together, which was really funny, good fun. And he always had, you know, like with the Lake Top guys, we had a special workshop where the guys came and he was going to be in charge of that and I was going to be in charge of the ladies, the women's camp. But we both visited each other's workshops. And, you know, I remember Garth with his guy workshop and talking to Jay Ryan and Chapman and saying, well, you guys, you know, you're like really tough guys and, you know, you've got to be able to like kill a sheep and, you know, everything. And they were going, oh, yeah, that's right. He says, well, so I've organised that for you. You know, there's a farmer who's got to kill a sheep for a dog, and so, you know, you're going to go over there and help him. And they were like, okay. All right, you know, okay. And then they went off and they did it. I think they just shot it. I don't think they actually cut the throat of the sheep. But I think they did. It was an exciting provocation and a really helpful thing for them to do, which I don't think I'd have had the guts to ask them to do. And now I'm just going to pretend I'm Garth when I've got something like that. Another thing he said to me is, I heard that he was asking around for a staircase he could use. And I was going, what do you want a staircase for, Garth? He said, oh, I want David Wenham to try and carry a body up it. You know, he had the most kooky, fabulous ideas for how to rehearse people and how to give them some visceral, real experience of what their character was up to.
It was very spontaneous.
Yeah.
But grounded completely in the material.
Yeah. And he was super clever, and I was thinking, yeah, good idea. And we at the Women's Camp had a lot of fun as well. We started that process in production when we started with Holly, and we showed her the real person, and we quickly, you know, decided that the real person wasn't going to be as great as Holly, and that Holly could do the guru thing or this character thing, and, you know, Jared and I sat together and we went, we like that. That's good, you know, as she did different things, you know. that works. Just keep doing that, you know. I mean, it doesn't sound very like method or anything, does it? But with me and Holly, it's a trust thing, you know, like we're sisters and, you know, we can work from the outside in.
That's what you think.
I hope. But she's so good that I sort of believed her. And then, you know, you can get a few, like just a few mannerisms and they start to help you. You know, it's like getting a piece of costume on. Starts to help you. So we got her, and then we'd just day by day we'd add more women to the women's camp, the women with actual speeches and things to do, like Robin, and then everybody, and then we had a party down by the containers where everybody was. It was like the best fun I've ever been to, wasn't it? I was thinking, oh, here we go, the women's party. I should be really wanting to do this, and I'm going to be at the men's party. But it was so much fun. We played musical chairs. There were so many singers. People were singing. Yeah. I just had the best time of my life there.
That was before we started shooting.
And then all the guys wanted to come down to the women's camp, you know. And we couldn't get them away because they loved the relaxed, you can be anything you want atmosphere of the women's camp, because these are like broken people at the women's camp, you know. And so, you know, it was just okay to be truthful. It was okay to be emotionally deranged. I mean, Robin, do you like to say anything about the
It was incredibly safe. Right.
Yeah.
There was something so liberating about everybody felt that everyone's honest, that you felt profoundly safe. Mostly when you did I remember you did a rolling poly, but James doing a rolling poly.
So there is a lightness, Jane.
It's a good idea to make a dick of yourself.
Yeah.
Well, for me, this work is not like a job. It's not going to increase or improve my ego. It's going to make me more vulnerable. It's going to make me more attackable. You know, do not be a director or in this business if you want to be inviolable. You know, it is going to get you. Someone's going to say something mean, you know, and you're going to go down. But I do it because, it saved my life. Making work exploring story and films. It was about the only thing I was interested in the whole world. And, I got to 25 and thought, like, oh, this life is pretty terrible. What can I be interested in, I thought it was going to be getting a husband, but...
Oh!
I'm sorry, but where is he? Where's my beautiful husband? Well, he wasn't there, so I better get a career. Got to do something.
I don't think we should go down this track too much.
It was a while ago. But, love was what I really wanted. I'm only doing this until I get loved, okay? But, no, really, truly, this is better than love. I guess what I mean is that engaged the whole of me. For the first time in my life, I felt totally engaged and totally challenged. And that you could put everything that is weird about yourself and vulnerable about yourself and shameful and exciting and other people, you can be in the work. You can be in, what it is to be alive. So that's why I do it. Therefore, it's no problem to me to do a roly-poly, I mean, you also, Robin, are open like that, And, everyone's different in their way of commitment. And, people, not all directors are going to do roly-polies, but...
No.
They will still share themselves utterly in whatever way they know how to, And it, and it even maybe in an erotic, fucked up way, They will still share that utterly. And, that means something.
It's kind of the job, isn't
it?
That sharing is a big part of it.
Yeah, and loving, I don't know any directors I really like that don't love their actors up a lot.
Yeah.
And respect what they're giving and, trying to do. Should we show something?
Shall we? What would you like
to... Do you want to see a scene or something? You've all seen it, I guess. Want to see it on the big screen?
Twice? Double trouble? What would you like to...
Okay, we'll show a serious scene. Let's show... What time is it?
We've got 15 minutes.
We'll show GJ on your knees.
So that's
episode 6.
Episode 6.
What are you going to talk about now?
Shall we just open the room up for a couple of questions? Yeah? Are you up for a question?
Yeah, unless you've got something. I mean, has anyone got a question? Oh, yeah.
You showed a lot more material for women's camp and made it into the series. Was that hard to cut it down and still let go of things that you put so much evidence in?
No. I'm really pragmatic. I want the story to work. I think as a young filmmaker, you get really, really juiced up about every little beautiful moment that can't make it, but I'm really wanting my story to live. So I'm quite brutal. And sometimes I have to be told to take it easy.
But also in the cutting process, you went back to this. There were times when things had been shifted around and actually you went back to the original storytelling and it went, oh, actually that was good.
Yes, that could happen. I mean, we had to deliver like 59 minutes, wasn't it? It's pretty exacting.
Yeah.
So that was always in the back of my mind when we were, it couldn't just swell to like whatever, like a feature could be 95 minutes or 96 or 97 or 120. We had to be 59. So it's quite a discipline.
But that amount of time, I mean, I grew very quickly to love it. It felt like a really great amount of time to get through stuff,
Yeah, I mean, the idea of creating, like a world like the women's camp, and then you only use that bit of it. It's like making a pie. You have to have more pastry, and you cut the bit out you want, and all of it has to be kind of good. You know what I mean? And you try and cut the best bit of pastry out. But you have to have that fabric of the world, and it's always a big effort, and you know, it always has to be done, whatever your worlds are. You know?
And we had that they weren't the only world.
Yeah, we
had other worlds.
When you make your movies, you know, a lot of what I think about is the world I'm making, you know, for the story. It's a big consideration to bring an audience to a new world, or to the particularity of the world of the story you're telling.
One of the things you sort of were talking a little bit about with Alison yesterday was mood and tone, and how they're different. And I thought about that a lot last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that mood is always there, but tone is modulated in some way.
Well, I think I said that tone is something you can't fuck around with. You know, it's like trying to have a Chinese meal and add some Viennese parts to it, you know? Just doesn't work. You know, you start to lose the credibility. You've got to, if you're going to do Chinese, you've got to do Chinese, you know? That's a very gross description of it, but whereas mood, you know, will go up and down and flow and, you know, throughout, it'll always be a mood, you know? In your piece, it could be flat, it could be, you know, high or intense, but with the tone of a piece, you know, like the tone of Top of the Lake is quite delicate, and it's something that I'm proud of, even, you know, not probably everybody gets it, but it's that humour and seriousness. And, you know, both Jared and I we think we're funny. But we want to do the both. And so it takes a bit of, you have to be that way. You have to be, you know, you have to do what you're good at, you know. And one of our ways of being in the world is to make fun of it and make fun of ourselves being in the world. And to, you know, sometimes it gets a bit bruising, like, can you stop making fun of me? But just like laughing at yourself and the world is a very big, you know, way of us enjoying the world, even when terrible things are happening, you know, and terrible things have happened to me. And in the middle of these most terrible things, it's sometimes very funny. And, you know, if I could just laugh my way through my whole life, that'd be just fabulous. I really do love to laugh.
We heard a lot this weekend about starting with your ending.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know what your ending was?
Actually, we changed our ending.
We changed it, yeah.
Look, I just think there's no rules. You know, I've heard about the starting with your ending. It's like, okay. I've heard of that idea. It's a good idea. You know, it's like bookends. There's so many, you know, in fact, Lucy Richer was really interested, who was creative from BBC, who helped us, and she'd have like about 6 different descriptions for correct ends.
Yeah, there was a suspended ending, and
there was a book-ending ending.
Yeah.
Can you remember them all?
No, I've got them written down somewhere.
Yeah, there was a question mark ending.
Yeah.
Well, that's the suspended ending. But, you know, so there are a lot of different ways, but, you know, I guess what, you know, we're talking about with endings is that how do you know it's ended? It feels like it's completed some circle. It feels like it's answered some of the questions that you began with. And that might be something you come to as you work through it. We didn't have an ending when we began. Although I, you know, really, and I've also seen films that I think they thought they had a great ending, and they were making the whole of the rest of the film
around the ending, yeah.
in order to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and it had a bit of a joke quality to it, which I didn't think was very good.
If you knew
so you know, there is no rules. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And you know, thanks for bringing that up, because I love to say it. There really are no rules, and I was actually speaking, Jacqueline, to your mate, Burra, what's his name, the comedian?
Johnny Burra.
Johnny,
Yeah.
I was thinking about him for a character, and we had a bit of a chat and a talk. And, you know, we were at the art gallery and he was just talking about this desire to do some comedy that was, didn't have the shapes that you're used to, like this, that was going to deeply surprise them in some way, you know? And, you know, that's why I think these formulations are something you may use if you're stuck, but I wouldn't use them as a pattern. You know, what I find what I find I do is go with body urges, you know, like I want to do a piece that's like, you know, or like, you know, or very tender, or, you know, but somehow it's embodied in you what the main tone or flavour of this piece is going to be. That it's unwordable, basically, beyond words, so that you're going to have to discover it through the feeling and the story. Yeah. What did you guys think about that idea of begin with your ending? Is it? What did you think? Maybe, maybe not.
It's an option. If you knew what the ending was, your destination was, would you be as excited about the adventure? Just a question.
That's a really good problem, you know. I think it's, you know, it becomes a little formulaic. But it's really a problem, and I've had it before, having no idea where you're heading. And I have written, you know, one of my first experiences was writing a script, it probably wasn't very good anyway, about 55 pages, and I knew at that point I could never end it. I had no way of ending it in any way that I understood or that could satisfy me. So I wouldn't say you need to know the exact ending, but it's sort of what I learned from that. Having an ending.
Where you began, but you didn't know where you were going to end, and then when you got to the ending, you know, it was like, woo, you know.
Well, I think Top of the Lake 1 was a good experience for me like that, because we really changed it a lot as we went along, and especially the ending. Even in the cutting room, we changed it.
And in response to some feelings that came out of a test screening. Remember that screening?
No. Yeah, I mean, I was there.
Yeah. Well, and that was quite confronting in a way, because the temperature around the ending
was too tough.
It was really tough.
It was too, you know, it was just very bleak, and people felt I could, you know, and I mean, we hadn't had a chance to experience it ourselves either, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I felt the same way. So we had to tonally, that's a tone shift, tonally help it, you know.
Yeah.
Choose another direction. But, for example, with Bright Star, we knew that Keats was going to die. and, you know, she was going to walk in the snow, you know. So that was something, you know, and everybody knew that too.
How are you going to take us there? That's the question.
You know, I think of the, you know, look, you can do your own research of all great storytellers, you know, all the great short storytellers, you know, like Raymond Carver, like Chekhov, like whoever you love, and go, well, what do they do with their ends, you know? How are they doing it, you know? And if they're not a ghost story or something, I mean, ghost story, possibly if you have a good end, that's good. But if it's much more tonal and curious, and that's the sort of end you're going to need too, you know? Tonal and curious. And, you know, that is part of the art of it, that you find those right notes that close it, you know. I hate to speak badly of The Hobbit, but because of its hallowed life here, this country. However, there's quite a lot of endings. I mean, you know, good on Sir Peter. He didn't leave a single one out. You know, that's another option. You just do all of them.
The sense of an ending.
Yeah, not enough ending. one, you know. A wedding, a boat going.
I think that
Everyone dies is always a good one.
yeah,
There's just nobody left to go on.
well, look, we're talking around endings, and we're coming to the ending of the Big Screen Symposium, and there is a sort of formal farewell process that will happen, but just now I'd like you to join me in thanking Jane. And Images and Sound, and Tim Riley's going to roll up the curtain.
I'd just like to say, you know, thank you so much too. I really had some beautiful time with we call it master class. Should be mistress class, right?
I reckon mistress class would have been better.
I did wear high heels to it, okay. and beautiful time here, you know, with you all today. And as I wish the masterclass group, you know, I just wish you freedom in your work and in your life. You find freedom and have it.
Thanks, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. I was going to say I hope you find love, but then that means you'll stop making films.
All right, I already have. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Tim Riley. I'm on the board of Script to Screen, and it's my privilege to thank all of the people that were involved in this event. I'm also an entertainment lawyer, and this is not a pitch. I love being an entertainment lawyer, and one of the reasons I love it is this, being able to attend a conference like this. When I was a corporate lawyer, the equivalent of this would be kind of like stuck in a dreary conference hotel in the middle of the North Island somewhere, hanging, or Wairaki often, and hanging out with a bunch of white, middle-class, badly dressed males talking about unit trust prospectuses and golf. And now I've got this, and this has been an amazing event, and it's a real privilege to be able to say thanks. And I don't know if Rachel Griffiths is still here, but and in the spirit of collaboration, I thought I'd ask my 5-year-old son this morning what I should say when giving thanks at a conference. His name's Xavier, and I put the question to him. And he looked up at me and he said, "I don't know, Dad, what's a conference?" And I wish I had Banjo's number, he would have had a few clues. So I'm just going to go through, I've got quite a few people to thank here, and after this, Tainui is going to close things with a karakia. So here we go. I'd like to thank all of the speakers and participants and moderators and everyone else that stood up here and taken part. The New Zealand Film Commission and its staff, a huge thank you to you guys. Both you contribute financially, you obviously come up here in person every year and make yourselves known. Our generous accommodation partner Pullman Auckland, Images and Sound, and I'm going to rattle through these quite quickly now. New Zealand On Air, also thanks to the University of Auckland as a whole, and in particular the Department of Media, Film and Television for hosting this conference. South Pacific Pictures, Park Road Post, Canon, APRA AMCOS, the Random Group, and SAE Institute. Thank you guys. Thanks also to the official support of Screen Rights and the International Institute of Modern Leaders. Thanks for your support. A number of guilds to thank: Women in Film and Television, the New Zealand Writers Guild, Ngā Aho Whakaari, the Directors Guild of New Zealand, and Actors Equity. Special thanks to Gattings Catering, Crystal Colour Graphics, Oceana Productions, Tessa Lloyd-Hageman from Event Services at the University of Auckland. Now Whakari get a second mention. James Brooks and the team at Department of Post. Our print programmer, Tabitha Harris. Alex Whittaker, Annie Duckworth. Tammy Berenstrom and Mickey Finnis from Candlelight for being all over our social media for the whole weekend. Our business partners at J&A Productions, Justine Mackay and Andy Dowding. Justine's the glamorous one who probably welcomed you when you arrived, and Andy's the one who stomps around urging you to go to the next session. I'd also like to express particular thanks to Sarah McDermott from J&A. She's been a part of the Big Screen Symposium since its inception, and this year has taken on the big task of managing the event. It's fantastic to feel safe and sound in her capable hands, and I know you'll agree with me that things could not have run more seamlessly this year. So thanks also to her supporters, Kirsty Blackwell and Rachel Wilson. And of course the staff at Script to Screen, Eloise Weber, Ben Walton and Judy Dale, and Esther in her modesty left herself off that list, so Esther running that team, thank you so much. And last but not least, the amazing Lucy Wigmore, who joined the team this year to program this event. And I truly believe this program goes from strength to strength, and this year is better than all the other years, and I'm sure next year will be even better. So thanks to everyone for your attendance, and Tainui, hand over to you.
A handle, a Māori angle, I guess, on the whole collaboration kaupapa is enshrined in some ways by 3 K words as well, karakia, kōrero, kai. And, you know, karakia are those moments, you know, disguised perhaps in, well, not disguised, but with spiritual garb, that actually enable us a moment of togetherness. We have our kōrero, so we communicate, and everyone knows what needs to be done. You know, it's all a team effort. And we have our kai to give thanks for the there's coffee too, but in the course of the conference, we've had much kōrero, we've had much kai, and just echoing Tim's words, just to thank us all for being here, and the tenor of the times that's allowed this to be so, and of course all our guests. And so with a karakia, I know some people know that we have this taekie sort of thing, so I just want to explain the metaphor. It's not quite like an amen, although we'll have one of those too. The metaphor is that of a canoe, and we bind, the canoes are made up with, you know, in constituent elements, and when these canoes are bound together, that's when we say these words, ka haramai te toki, kia tina, tina. And when you say tina, that means we are pulling that rope tighter. And when we say haumia taekie, huie taekie, that means it is one, it is done. And it is the metaphor of a canoe coming together. Importantly, it's on the move. So in the spirit of that, I'll just share a few words of karakia just to end our wonderful conference and I guess reach for that togetherness and that collaboration that we're all looking for. Kei nui tātou. E tōku atua, e tōku atua. Whakakotahi te ngākau arā te henunga roa au pona katoa e tau nei. Me ngā hoki mātou kia mātou, ki tāu kaupapa whānui e me no mātou. Me ngā hoki mātou ki haere inu e te huarahi wā au whakahau me te ua noho ki te pupuri au ture. E te matua atawhai, a whina tia rā mātou e ngoi kore nei. Me ngā hoki kia whaikaha ki te mahinga mahi katoa e whakakorori tia ai koe. E te matua aroha kaua rā mātou e whakarearea noa tia e koe. E ngari arahina mātou ki runga ki te huarahi o tau maramatanga. He pono ko koe tō mātou kai arahi mai tērā hakatūpuranga ki tēnei whakatūpuranga tō mātou kai awhina mai, tō mātou ariki. O thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, we are all servants of thine, shelter beneath thy providence. Cast thy grants of favour upon us, give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and peace and understanding to our hearts. Āmine. E io e rangi tā pape mo e tātawa tamako whakarongo. I roti te tawhitora taparonga nui a rangi e. Ka toko rangi te hurangi rangi nui rangi roa rangi whātuma rangi mataura. Ka rewa rangi ki hoki anga hoki mai ki te mataura te piotai whakarua. Tērā ka hora te tai ki te waitemata. Uhi wero, ka hara mai te toki, hau kia tina. Hau mie hui e, tae ki e. Kia ora everybody.